Back, gamers, with live breaking news. At this very moment, it has been reported EA is in advanced talks of going private, talking a deal of upwards of $50 billion to stop being public and go back into a private company and to buckle down. Let's get into it. Reported yesterday, it is going on that Electronic Arts, EA, is in talks with one of the Saudi Arabian fund groups to be purchased for $50 billion. That will take the group out of being a publicly traded company back into private. EA has been recently more conscientious of their better known IPs and doubling down on them in these trying economic times since consumers are being more smart with their wallets. I mean,
Look tight.
everything from
Look tight with
gas,
the pocketbook these days.
everything from gas to bread, hell, just for a
Eggs.
plastic bottle of water is going up in cost. Treese, what do you think and/or feel about EA going private?
So I think it's interesting just off the rip that so many companies, so many what we consider major gaming studios are in the mindset of very interested in selling the company and selling the control, and so it's just very interesting. Especially, do we really feel EA is a $50 billion company? That seems, well, not, I guess, since what's the name just sold for 70. I don't know. I just think the
Or
price
so,
is it's
so are
crazy.
you
I
broadly?
mean,
Does it
everything that's
make
gonna
you
be
vote?
included in the sale, like, are they worth 50 billion? Was
Well,
Activision worth 70 billion?
Well, it was reported that Microsoft paid above the share
Mm,
price Activision Blizzard. I mean, Activision had never really publicly came out and said, "Hey, we're open to get bought.
yeah.
We're not whoring
Well,
ourselves out."
you
You
know,
know what I'm
all that
saying? But
should be backdoor business.
yeah, but if you went for sale, but someone comes up and gives an astronomical price, yeah, that'll make you change your mind pretty quickly.
Yeah,
But
but
I had to say, between Madden, college football being back now,
FIFA,
their Apex Legends, their live service game,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure they do bring in a good chunk of change. Not to
Okay,
mention market
well,
share
uh,
prices, etc.
okay, I mean, if we can just get past the 50 billion, there's reports that they are trying to get a bidding war between three different entities. First is Silver Lake. I don't know who they are. And then, like you said, the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund and this Gerard Infinity Partners. So it's three people in the race right now. And they're saying that a deal could be finalized as soon as next week, which is just crazy. So they've already been in talks for a minute for a deal to
Absolutely.
be already talking about being finalized, because this shit takes months
Months.
for these big studios to get. So shift in mindset for some of these gaming companies. Some of these gaming companies have brought out some of the biggest games ever and one game of the year, and yet they're selling. Something is going on that is just not being broadcast, because I just don't understand why would a major company that makes, I mean, we went over EA's numbers in their financial statements. They're making money. So I think they're gearing up for a significant, I don't want to say the R word, recession, but they're gearing up for something, because they feel like something is in the pipelines that's going to put a lot of pressure on the company, because that's the only reason why these studios make these deals. I'm getting the offer like 70 billion, but just to hand over control of your company like this to, I mean, not saying Saudi Arabia wouldn't be a good owner or maybe make good things, but in my eyes, I just think these companies are trying to avoid what's coming, and I think it's financial pressure, like we've been saying for weeks now. Everybody is smart with their dollars. Like, not everybody's gonna waste their money on, in games are getting so expensive. Like, I just think they're foreseeing the trouble that's coming down the pipeline. And the reason why they're selling too, probably they cannot tell how long this drought could be, because it could be a year, it could be two, it could be 10, especially too. I think another main issue is AI is very expensive starting up right now and being developed, and trying to be the first one in the race. And so I just think a mix of AI, financial pressures is on the way, and it's only going to get worse in my eyes as somebody that's in finance. I just think, yeah, EA is trying to run off with a bag before shit hits the fan type.
So I will heavily agree with you. Let me take it back for for a moment. For some years, maybe a generation or two of gaming, there's been this mantra that gaming is recession proof because where
Mm-mm, hell
everything else is
no.
going, hold on.
No, I mean, oh yeah,
Just
go.
take-
I mean, I'm gonna let you get your shit off.
because while while everything else, was numbers were going down, and as you said, people's spending got more frugal and weighing their options. People, instead of hanging out Friday nights or doing whatever and partying, they stayed at home. They played games. PlayStation, Xbox, had record numbers of revenue, of profit, and everything. But now, in recent times, with the cost of everything going up, whether you want to say inflation, the T word, whatever the case is, everything has gotten expensive to the point where even your most successful IPs or brands are starting to notice, hey, the numbers aren't ticking up as they used to. I believe it was the newest college football did not do or is not as hot as last year. Now that could be like, it just came out, or it could be like a person saying, well, I don't need to buy the new one when I have this one that plays just as good and does the same. Being publicly traded, investors want nothing more but just my return on investment needs to be better than what it was last year. And with them scrapping and dumbing down on just their core IPs, and like you said, knowing something is on their rising somewhere in some back room office, they're like, hey, shit is about to really, and we need to weather ourselves for the storm, and going private to them is probably the best way of we can make sure we still stick around. There's been reports that the new Battlefield 6 coming out is supposed to just be, as you put it, chef's kiss, and they are truly putting more back effort into that franchise than they have of recent years. So somewhere along the way, they're like, maybe this game of cat and mouse and being quick and slick with the consumer has come to an end. As you've put it, Madden is shit every year. Then they have their Apex Legends, which, as far as I can remember, even that has started to show slowing engagement and revenue bringing in. That somewhere they're just like, you know what? As the article put it, we need to have a more long term endeavor set rather than just quick turnaround. We spend $1 to make $5 in a sense. And I'm interested to see how it goes. Now, my only concern is the groups interested in buying them. I do know for a fact the Saudi Arabia group has stated many times that they were looking to diversify their portfolio more than just in oil, because sooner or later, that just can't always be the one thing you rely on. As the saying goes, don't put all your eggs in the basket. So it's interesting for them to want to get their toes into gaming, but in such a massive scale to where you purchase not even just a company, you purchase a whole platform in a scene. Goes back to some of the earliest days of gaming, and the IPs they carry along with it will, of course, bring money. It's definitely catching me off guard. I would have never thought EA would sell or put themselves in this kind of how you say position. Seeing how you word your response, the whole somewhere someone knows something, because I do believe gaming revenues or engagement numbers themselves are slowing down as you see many people choose to wait for a sale, not purchase at all, especially these yearly titles, your sports games, and EA damn near the king when it comes to sports games. A lot of people are going back to older games, the retro scene, quote unquote, in a sense. So it'll be an interesting way to see how this plays out. And then one more thing that makes me shocked, as you said, these type of talks go on for months. There's a lot of emails, handshaking, flights, meetings, whatever you want to call it, going on. It's amazing how no one has caught wind or this didn't leak out in any way, shape, and form. As the article put it, this could be finalized or have a decision done as far as next week. The beginning of next week is Sunday. So that's amazing. What do you think EA being owned privately could do for their IPs? At least the ones you
Listen,
probably wouldn't care it for.
listen, you know how I am. Once I get burnt, I'm jaded forever. So I don't think EA is just going to turn around and be a consumer friendly company going forward. I mean, they've had a
Oh hell no.
10 plus year history of, not giving a damn about the consumer. So I actually suspect it to be, if not worse, actually. And I don't think you should be shocked because this has been rumbling for a while, because at one point EA was in talks with Microsoft to purchase them. So this is not really catching me off guard. The only thing that's catching me off guard is that it could be finalized by earliest next week. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, them selling, and especially the trend like Bethesda, all these other big people are selling. So we're in a sell-off, I don't know, period of gaming companies. So it's just a little interesting. And I looked up some things on why this is happening. For number one reason that was stated is that the massive development cost of AAA games can range from anywhere from 200 million to 500 million plus. Now, you can say what you want about that number, if it's all legitimate numbers that went into developing or not, that's up for debate. But right under that is shareholder pressure. And you have to meet these quarterly earnings for these investors to feel like, they getting their money's worth. And that's who really they make the game for, is these shareholders, not for us. Every time they have a little quarterly meeting, they're talking about, oh, this game can make this much money for you, and so on and so on. So the game not even made for us and most of these companies like EA. It's made for the shareholder. And the next reason stated was uncertain future, which they noted AI, streaming, and subscriptions. And it's funny that subscriptions is in bold letters and it's Game Pass. And it's so Game Pass is making some gaming companies a little nervous, because I think this is kind of gonna mirror how music got done. At one point in time, you couldn't stream no music. You had to go physically buy the album. So that product was guaranteed to make anywhere from 10.99 to 13.99 per unit. Now, when Apple came and said, "Hey, that 10.99, 9.99 a month, if you just pay us that, you can listen to any song, not just that one artist song." And then that's when the pie started getting sliced and sliced and sliced and sliced. And now one stream is like 12 cents for the artist. So I feel like that is happening with games, and I think that's why what a lot of companies are in fear of, slicing the pie down. And games are going from whatever price to now 70.99, 80, 90, $100. And if Game Pass really continues on its trajectory, that means at one point EA, where they've probably pocketed on $100 game, they probably pocketed 55, $60 of that $100 after all they pay all these fees and other shit, right? That could go down to what's the price of Game Pass a month? Trying to slice that 100 million ways? Oh yeah, it
So
could it could do some damage to the ecosystem of gaming. And I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I'm just saying that could be a parallel of what these companies are in fear of. I mean, because you can only
okay,
slice a pie so many ways. Eventually,
right.
you run out, and if you ain't got your money by then by one of them slices, then you just FMNL. Like, keep it pushing, pimp. So I think that's another reason, and I found that interesting that subscription and Game Pass was in bold letters of the uncertain future.
But it's funny that you mentioned that because EA is a part of Game Pass. If
Yeah,
you are a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, you get EA Pass. It's
yeah, but I
included in it.
think
And
I think
EA has its
EA
own subscription.
I think EA, and yes, and that's retrospect of the Xbox Pass why they made that. And then two, I believe Microsoft cut them a big check to have their products. That's number one. So they was eating on
Probably.
that side. And it's, mind you, this is still early on. Subscription gaming is still kind of in its infancy. So early on, Xbox probably cut them a check to have their products, and then they was like, "Oh, we can make our own shit and make people go through that, and that could be a check." And then two, since it's so early, people are still gonna buy the game, whether physically or digitally, because it's just so early, and it takes certain people a long time to get behind these subscriptions. And they was just looking at it, but now I think time is going where subscription base is going even more in gaming, because like I said, these games are getting more and more expensive. How much is Game Pass? $10, 15? Compare that to buying, if you buy a game once a month and the game is $80. I mean, just do the math, times 12 versus a Game Pass per month. Like, it's not going to be any comparison. So I think that's why we're seeing all these big companies just get out the game. And You know, like I said, this could be a good thing or it could be not shit for the consumer. I mean, for the company, I mean, I think this brings a lot of stability for them going forward and letting them say, hey, we got enough that we can look on 10 years and we'll be fine. I think that's number one why they're selling to these big corporations, and they kind of get the freedom from the shareholders. They ain't got to answer to the shareholders, which could be 50, 100 plus people, and you got one organization to answer to at that point. And kind of you just, you come to the meeting, they already know what they want you to do. All you got to do is do it. You kind of just hit the status quo and keep it pushing. So it's a lot more like pressure off their shoulders. The reason why, and that's the good for EA. The bad for EA is that these people who's trying to buy them, they could come in and say, "Hey, we laying off half the staff. We don't give a fuck." They could stifle creativity. Not that EA got any creativity. I'm just saying. I mean, they could make it worse. I don't know. I think it's a real interesting time in gaming. I'm not saying it's good times, but it's a lot of things that's going to happen over the next 48 months or so that is going to really tell you the direction of 10th generation gaming. And like I said in our episodes of our podcast, it looks really scary outside. And this deal is just another example of why it looks scary, cuz it's just whew, it's just looking grimy outside. Let's hold on to your britches. Listen, we'll talk about a game in our podcast of a game that really streamlined a lot of expenses and said, "Hey, these expenses we need to take out because it's not the return on investment for this money. It's not worth it. It's not going to benefit the consumer." So they took it out and they made a game a lot more affordable because they spent less money. So I do think the number is very overinflated of what they actually spent, and I'm sure a lot of that money is marketing. Like I bet they put their marketing campaign cost in there too. So actually making a game, yeah, no, it's probably it's more than likely not that. A lot of games they either match the development costs or they go over that and just marketing the game. So yeah, no,
Mhm.
I don't believe it.
Okay, because I've heard it from developers in interviews that state, how they were able to stay in line of their projections, whether it be their spending and what they get back, is to cut back on the bloat in a sense. And as I've stated before, no real gamer, I have to speak for myself, but I'm going to say
Oh,
it.
ray
No real
tracing.
gamer goes out and is looking at a game and says, you know what? I just love the lighting in this game. I'm going to go spend $70 on this. And like you said, they make these games for the investor, not us. But I'll also say that they make these games for the critics, for the investors, because it is the critics who are the ones who will judge a game based off lighting. Oh, they'll bring the score down. Oh, the game had too many gamified mechanics. It's a game. Any developer listening or paying attention, if you chose to make a game and you spent 300 million on that, that's on you. You're choosing to do that. And for whatever reason, you will pay the consequences because the gaming audience is telling you what they want and you're choosing to
To do the
ignore it.
opposite. Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. Some of these games are going on 6, 7 years of development, all to make a game that with elements that people literally ask the opposite for. Man, you get out, stop playing in my face, man, and then expect me
It
to spend $80 on a game.
it sounds bad, but I'm going to say this.
Oh, here we go.
I feel no sorrow when a game company has to either be closed, shut down, whatever.
Oh, yeah,
Due
yeah.
to due to, "Oh, our game didn't sell well." Did you give the audience what they asked? Your audience is asking for blue, and you're like, "No, we're gonna give you red." "Well, I don't want red. I want blue." We're gonna give you red, and then you make red, and no one buys it. And like, "Oh, well, we have to close. We didn't make any money." Okay, well, I didn't want that. Well, you didn't buy the product. I told you I didn't want that. And then everyone looks confused and like, "Oh,
Yeah,
we don't know what happened." Well, we
yeah,
know what happened. You made something we didn't want.
yeah, give me what I'm asking for, nothing extra.
And I can give prime example. Volition Studio, the people who used to make the Saints Row game.
Oh,
And before they made that reboot, when the series was in limbo in a sense after they made that weird spinoff, Agents of Mayhem, that no one asked for, but they wanted to try to diversify themselves. There was a point in time where they were trying to see what to do, and people clear as day asked, why don't you remake or remaster Saints Row 1 and 2? Those are the most beloved, most favorite, before they went on the goofy hijinks road. And they were like, no, we don't want to do that. No, that's old. We don't see ourselves going back to that. Okay, well then why are you talking about what are you looking forward to do with Saints Row? And then they showed up with this reboots that kind of shitted on the originals, had nothing either homage or relativity of the old games, and it did not sell. And then they made these long, sad posts that after 30 years we have to close our doors, and it was great making the great games, and we don't know what we're gonna do. Well, you bet on the wrong. We asked for what we wanted. You said no. We didn't buy the product. I don't understand why these companies, I want to make sure I say this, companies, corporations, why you all assume you are entitled to our money just because you made something. And that is the another draw point. Either one of these three bidders for EA, that just because you buy it and you can just throw whatever on it, slap EA's name on it. Oh, it's going to sell. It's by EA. No. EA's telling you the reason they're considering going private is because of the financial times currently and what's going to happen future-wise. People are closing their wallets. They're closing their checkbooks. They're closing the Vmos, the cash apps, whatever you want to call it. People are not just willingly throwing away money anymore. This ain't the PS2 era of gaming where games are $30, $40. Hell, even $50. Mafia the Old Country was praised because, it's a $50 game. Where are we? Where are we? So I don't want to hear, the high cost of production of gaming. That's on you. You can make a sexy, graphically nice game without doing the most.
Hey, you might need to brace yourself for what's gonna happen in gaming in the next 2 or 3 years, and it's just not gaming. Let me preference that too. And I can understand some of these companies or investment funds, whatever you want to call them, trying to swoop in and buy these gaming companies, is because at one point recently, your return on investment was greater in games than it was in music or movies. But like I said,
Absolutely. That's the music.
music and movies is heavily subscription now. So that's probably a number one reason why video games look so attractive. They haven't went subscription fully. As time progresses, it either, and I'm not even saying subscription might not take off in gaming. It could stagnate or get plateau at some point. So it's really a gamble on what you think is going to happen in the next 5 to 6 years in gaming. And this is just predictions. I'm just thinking, I don't think this is going to do anything good for EA and EA's properties and games that they release. I think if anything, these people are going to buy these EA and they're going to say, "Hey, that 50 million you probably spend going from Madden to Madden, make it 25 and then do it with half your staff." Like I honestly, that's what I feel that's going to happen to EA. So, but definitely let us know in the comments down below if you agree or disagree, or if you think this is good for EA. Because, like I said, I don't know these companies that's making these bids or in the mix. Maybe they have some mission statement of consumer first. But I'm gonna tell you, 9 out of 10, they don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about us. They just want your money. And so, and like the note I made in the episode of EA on the Madden rant, all the people that's making decisions in that company don't look like you and me. And I'm saying that in far as like age, 60, 70, 80-year-old men that probably never played the game ever in life. So they're not gamers that's gonna really dictate the next 10 years. And this move just validates that point. More time, these people don't even play games. They just look at numbers and profit margins. So
Mm-hmm.
it could get a lot worse than EA. And that's scary to think about because EA is already the worst of the worst for its
Shitty.
consumers. So
Shitty.
I keep saying it. I keep saying it. It looks scary. It looks grimy outside. And as they gear up and they try to get as much stuff underneath their umbrella, and whatever bad or rough time we hit in gaming that's really long overdue, honestly, they're gonna get even more cutthroat. So I think that 200 million, 500 million of development costs, oh baby, no way in hell they gonna spend that money. Even if that number's true, let's even go with that number's true. They said, "Oh no, you can make that game for half that." You that look, all the budgets are cut in half. Go figure it out. And we want it done in less time. We're not waiting 6 years for a return on investment. Do it in 3. So just think
You
about all
talking
the
about
broken games that's gonna come. We'll see. We'll definitely follow the story as it unfolds and just hope for the best. That's all we can do. Let's hope for the best. Bitch, I'm scared.
And that's it for this video of Are You Not Entertained podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell so you'll never miss our next hot take. Until next time, are you not entertained?